Hi, I'm Skyly Edmiston, licensed esthetician and instructor. I'm also the executive director of a beauty school. This is the new updated 2021 Aesthetics Practical examination. I'm going to be going through the kit with you as well as setup and the entire test, what to expect, what's changed from the previous test, and then give you some little helpful tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. This is my fourth video for State Board. This is the third update that State Board has done. It's very similar to the previous examination. They've just combined steps so that you're not doing each thing individually, which actually makes a lot more sense and it's much more fluid in terms of doing a service. I feel like this will be much easier for students. In all the years I've done these videos, I have not had anyone fail yet that has used this video, and it is as streamlined as possible so that it makes it as easy for you. I try not to overcomplicate it. State Board does not care if you have great technique, if you have good flow. All they're looking for is safety, sanitation, that you're meeting the basic steps of all of the different sections, and that you're doing it in the correct manner. So I would recommend keeping it as simple as possible. Don't try and take full-size products, a hot thermos, hot towels, anything crazy like that, because State Board simply doesn't care, and it's a waste of your time, energy, and space. So I'll go ahead and go through a few of the basics with you first. Moving forward, we know we're in a different time now. Everyone is going to be required to wear their face mask during the entire examination. So just make sure that you do have one, you have a good one that is breathable and that fits your face right, because anytime you touch your person, whether it be your face or your clothing, you're gonna have to re-sanitize your hands. So you wanna make sure that you've got a good fitting mask that's not gonna be causing you any kind of issues during the exam. Face masks, in terms of like the shields, are not allowed. It does have to cover the nose and the mouth. If that's an issue, unfortunately, they will not allow you to test without it. So, you have to wear one. It's non-negotiable. For the purpose of this exam and video, I'm not going to be wearing one so that you can hear me, but just know that that is a requirement moving forward. So I'll get that out of the way. As far as your kit goes, the kit has pretty much remained the same from the previous exam. The way that I bag things is pretty much the same, just because even though we've combined steps, nothing has really shifted, and all of the same components are still going to be there. So, beginning, you still need 3 bags. I recommend using grocery bags or gift bags. They do have to be lined and they do have to be labeled. You need 3 of them. You'll need to be disinfected, soiled linens, and trash. So make sure that you can see as well as the examiner can see which bag is which. They're going to go under your table. And then of course when you're carrying them in, you'll want to have them flat on top of your box. I don't put them in my box. It's not against State Board policies to put them in the box. I just find it harder to deal with when they're inside. So I keep them on the outside on top. So I've got my 3 bags down here, making sure that I can see both sides. You're going to need Cavicide or Barbicide wipes. This is an update to the test that began in the middle of last year. You can no longer use a spray for the table at all. It has to be wipes. If you are having trouble finding some, let me know. I can refer you to some places, but typically the medical supply stores are going to be your best bet. So you'll need this. You're going to need your hand sanitizer. It does not need to be 100% alcohol. That's not a thing. There is literally no hand sanitizer out there that's 100% alcohol. Even buying alcohol by itself is only 99%. So it just needs to be 65% or better according to State Board regulations. You're going to need your mannequin head. Some people like to use the ones that have the shoulders on them. I find them to be too cumbersome and they're just a mess and they can fall off the table if you hit them the wrong way. These ones work great and you can put them on your mannequin clamp. These are very inexpensive and they're very secure. You just tighten this little piece here and it keeps the mannequin head where you want it. Now in terms of your kit, you can absolutely pack it however you like. This is just how I prefer to pack it. I do also sell these kits pre-made if you would like to purchase one. It comes with everything you need, including the mannequin head. That way you don't have to worry about it. But if you choose to build your own, this is what I recommend. I like to use a plastic tub. You can use a file box as well. It works really well. Some people choose to just have their bags in a duffel bag. I don't like to do that, but it's whatever your preference is. In terms of the actual bags, I try to make as least trash as possible. I don't like having everything in an individual sandwich bag because anything that spills over in your trash, soiled linens, or to be disinfected is going to get you marked off throughout the examination. And trying to push things down with your hand, of course, yes, you can sanitize, but if for some reason the examiner misses you sanitizing, they're going to mark you off for that. So the least amount of time you can spend in the bags, not messing with them, having the trash totally in there, the better it is for you. So that's why I minimize how much actual trash I have that I'm throwing away. So of course, my first bag is going to be my setup bag. This bag includes a towel for draping if I need to wipe my hands, the actual drape, I use a small shampoo cape for the mannequins, the Esthetics strip, and the headband, as well as my first aid kit. It is no longer considered a blood spill kit, and you no longer have to have a biohazard label. It just needs to be labeled first aid kit, and it has to be multi-use, which means you need at least 2 of everything in the kit. So I've got 2 sets of gloves, 2 sets of alcohol wipes, and 2 sets of Band-Aids, as well as an extra bag inside to put the soiled items into before you throw them away. So that's going to be the first bag. Your second bag is going to be everything you're going to need for the basic facial. Like I said, they've combined all the steps, so it's 1 step for 25 minutes, and you're performing the entire facial from start to end. I think it's so much easier and streamlined and will make more sense when you're practicing it than splitting it up the way that it was done previously. So of course in here, I've got my eye makeup remover, my cleanser, my toner, my water. I've also got my moisturizer, my exfoliant, my massage cream, my mask product, and my hot towel, which is not actually hot, it's just wet. I've got my sponges, my exfoliant brush that you need to use some type of implement. It doesn't have to be a brush, but that's what I prefer. And your mask brush, as well as some cotton rounds. So it's everything you'll need for that second basic facial step. Then I've got my third bag, which is just another setup bag. It includes the identical items from the first bag minus the first aid kit. So you've got your towel, your drape, your headband, and your Esthetics strip in this bag. Then I've got my makeup bag, which also includes my waxing and tweezing items. So I've got my tweezers, I've got my wax sticks, my wax strips, all of my makeup, which is your mascara, foundation, powder, blush, eyeshadow, lip color, and eyeliner. You no longer need to use a lip liner, so that's nice. It also has my disposable items, as well as gloves for when I'm waxing and tweezing, and my cotton rounds. Then we have 2 additional sections that Arizona has opted to do. Not every state has chosen to do this. We do the microdermabrasion, which includes a microdermabrasion tip. It has to have a 4-foot cord on it. I just use yarn, I think it's the easiest. You have a face mask, which of course you're not really going to need anymore now that you're wearing one the entire exam, but it's in there anyway. Goggles, which you don't need if you wear actual eyeglasses. But if you don't, you need them. Your prep solution, your gloves, and some cotton rounds. Then you've got your last thing, which is your eyelash enhancement section. You need eyelashes, you need your glue, scissors to trim, a mascara wand, a stick to test the eyelash glue on, as well as to put the glue on. And then you can, if you want, put a separate cleanser in here for your skin, but I actually am just going to be using the prep solution, and you'll see when I get to the step what exactly that looks like. So this is my stuff that I keep inside of here. Everything else I keep outside. So I keep my hand sanitizer, my Caticide wipes, my mannequin head, of course my bags, and my clamp on top when I walk in. I find that much easier, especially because you need to clean your table and clean your hands before you can go into this box safely and sanitarily. So I would just rather have them on the outside. If you chose to put all of this into a rolling duffel bag, you absolutely could do that too. But again, it's something else you've got to account for, and everything has to fit underneath your table. So try and take as least as possible. Another thing to keep in mind, you cannot have anything that signifies what school you have gone to. So your box, your duffel bag, your face mask, your outfit, none of that can have anything regarding your school on it. Otherwise, they will send you directly out of the examination. In terms of things to look for and things to make sure of before you go to the exam, I would highly recommend making sure your hair is put up and out of the way. If it's going to cause you any kind of issues, get it out of the way. No jewelry, whether it's on your hands, your ears, a necklace, bracelets, just get rid of it all. You actually can't even wear nail polish or fake nails to the exam either. Make sure your clothes fit well, make sure they're all black. I just recommend wearing black scrubs. It's probably the easiest thing you can do. Closed-toed shoes. Just be as inconspicuous as possible. You don't want to stand out. You don't want them staring at you. This is not a competition of who's better at doing state board. It's literally get in, get done, and get out. So, you'll find people go a little overboard, and that's fine. The examiners definitely can look at them. I would keep the attention off yourself as much as possible and just make it through the exam. Also, don't forget, before you go to the exam, you're going to want to make sure that all of your things are wet that need to be wet, which would be steam towels and your sponges. Make sure you've got liquids. Make sure all of your supplies are good. If you packed your kit, a month ago, chances are a lot of your stuff is dried out, especially the wax and the mask. So double check all of that stuff the night or the morning before your exam. And make sure that you've got everything in your kit. There's been so many times I've heard students say, oh, I thought I packed this and I took it out to use it for myself and I never put it back. So go back through and just make sure you're checking those, because that's something easy that you could end up failing for. So now we'll go ahead and we'll begin the actual examination.
You will prepare your work area for your client. You will set up the universal supplies you will use throughout the examination. You will also set up the supplies for the basic facial section of the examination. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. You will have 10 minutes to complete this section. You will be informed when you have 5 minutes remaining. Do not demonstrate any procedures until the verbal instructions are given and you are instructed to begin. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin.
This is where you want to make sure that you are really listening to exactly what the proctor is telling you, because a lot of times students will go ahead or they won't do things because they weren't actually listening to what they were saying, and they'll forget things. The change that's happened with this test is for the 10 minutes you have to set up, you're not actually draping your client yet. You are just setting all of your supplies out and getting them ready. They will actually have you prepare your client separately in the next step. So you only have 10 minutes. Don't waste it doing things you don't need to be doing. First things first, you're gonna go ahead, get your cavicide wipes. Get a few of them. I actually love these wipes much better than the spray. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this down. Wipe down my table. Now obviously at State Board you're not going to have this much room. Typically I think you have about 3 feet wide, 2 feet deep, if that. So of course I wiped that down. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in my trash. Then I'm gonna grab my hand sanitizer, sanitize my hands. Get these things, as far into your corners as you can, because you're not gonna need them, a ton other than the hand sanitizer. Sanitize my hands. Now at this point you would put your clamp on the table. I did it before just because I was having some challenges with my table today. So then you're gonna go ahead, grab your mannequin. Everyone always asks me, what happens if it falls on the floor? It's a mannequin, it's considered unsanitary anyway. If it falls on the floor, just pick it up and put it back on the mannequin clamp. You don't need to wipe the whole thing down. You do need to sanitize your hands after you put the mannequin on the clamp. But other than that, it's an unsanitary person. You can't make it sanitary. So I tighten my clamp so that my person is good and sturdy on there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and sanitize my hands again. You can never over sanitize your hands. If you are in doubt, just do it. You're gonna go ahead and go in your box. Now here's the key. When you're in this box, you can have the lid off. The minute you're done, this lid has to go back in the box. You can't leave it on the floor. So you're gonna go ahead, grab your first 2 bags, then get your box underneath your table. You've got your 2 bags here. This is all of your items for your client as well as your safety. So you want to make sure your first aid kit goes up here so they can see it in case they want to come look at it. And then you're going to get all of your setup supplies here for your client. Like I said, you're not going to drape them yet. What you can do, and I highly recommend this, is take your bags and twist them up. It takes an extra second, but it saves you so much room in your bag. Then you're going to go ahead and get all your things out of here. And if you want, go ahead. Sanitize again. There you go. Take out all your supplies. Make sure that they can see everything. I like to label both sides of all of my products because then that way I know they can see it and I can see it. And you know, just organize yourself somewhat. Don't spend a million hours trying to make everything perfect. Once you are finished, step back to indicate that you are done. This is it for the first setup. 10 minutes, you're done.
You will prepare your client for services. You will perform a basic facial. The basic facial will include cleansing, manual exfoliation, towel steaming, massage, and mask. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. You will have 25 minutes to complete this section. You will be informed when you have 12 minutes remaining. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin.
Now you'll step up. First thing you're going to do is sanitize your hands. You're going to go ahead and drape your client first. So what I do is I take Sanex strip, and you can tie the Sanex strip, just one little simple tie, and then shift it. There we go. I like to take my headband and actually do it from the bottom. That way, if for some reason my headband decides to pop off, it's not going to fly off the whole table. It'll get stuck on the clamp. So it just makes it a little bit easier. Put your headband on your mannequin. You want to try and cover their ears as well as having it up here on their forehead. That way, the purpose of a head drape is so that you don't have a bunch of product running in their ears and their hair, right? Then you're going to take your cape. Now typically these capes don't fit around the neck properly because they are made for a whole neck, not a half a neck. So what I do is I actually try and attach it around the clamp. That way it is tight. And then you can tuck it. It doesn't have to be super long. I like to keep things as neat as possible. Now this towel is absolutely optional. If you don't want to put one in your kit, you don't have to. The reason I do it is because I like to have something to wipe my hands on. So I actually put it around the base of my clamp. And then that way if my hands get wet, I'm not trying to figure out what to do with the extra product. So then I've draped my client. I'm going to go ahead and sanitize my hands again, of course. And I'm going to begin my procedures. The eye makeup and lip removal is not required any longer, but you can absolutely still do it if you want. If you are going to go ahead and do it, just make sure when you open your makeup remover, you don't touch it to the cotton rounds. You have to hover. You're going to use 2 cotton rounds for the eyes and 1 for the lips. The way that that would look is you're going to take your 2 cotton rounds, you'll hover, put your product on them. I would brace first and then lay your cotton rounds over the eyes, let them sit for a moment, and then you're going to brush down and out and then up across on the forehead or on the eyebrows. You just don't want to do this. Anytime it looks like you're forcing product into the eyes, it's not a good idea. So down and out is always the preferred method. Just swipe once and then get rid of your cotton rounds. And then in terms of the lip, it's the same exact thing. You're going to brace, you're going to swipe, and then you're going to throw them in the trash. Once you've put them into the trash can, just go ahead and sanitize your hands again. Why not, right? Then we're going to go ahead and we'll move on with our cleansing. You're not stopping in between. Everything is combined into one now. So take your cleanser. Again, don't let it touch anything. It has to hover. Get enough product that it doesn't look like you're dragging the skin. Close the lids when you're done with them. Don't ever leave them open. Emulsify the product in your hands. Apply it over the entire face before you start doing any manipulations. And then you can go ahead and manipulate however you would like on the skin. There's really no set way. As long as it looks like you're cleansing the entire face, getting all of that makeup off, then that's all they're looking for. Just make sure you cover all areas of the face. And then always finish at your stopping point. Now this is where that towel comes in handy. Most of the time you're going to have extra product. And And then for this section, we're going to actually use our sponges. And then just make sure that you're removing all the product from the skin. I always like to check down at the nose, check down here. And then these should go in the trash. I don't like to wash them or sanitize them, just have them be disposable, it's much easier. And you're gonna go ahead and take 2 cotton rounds and your toner. Again, hover. And tone the face. Now it's not required to tone after each step, but I always tell students, do what comes naturally to you. If you've been taught during a facial to always tone after each step, cleansing, exfoliant, mask, then just do it at the exam because it's gonna be easier for you and it will make more sense when you're doing the service. If you're trying to do weird things that you're not used to, you're going to mess up. And they're never gonna mark you off for doing extra stuff, they're only gonna mark you off for not doing the required minimums. Put those in the trash, sanitize our hands, and then we move on to our exfoliant. The exfoliant needs to be applied to the entire face. Again, don't let this touch your hand. Put that everywhere. Mannequin is going awry. Have to tighten her. And then of course you can take your towel and dry your hands. I'm gonna tighten my mannequin. Whoop. There we go. Sanitize my hands. Then you're gonna take your implement that you're using to exfoliate with, and it could be anything. I love these little brushes. I think they're great. And you can get them in the dollar store, so why not? I like to wet them a little bit, so you're gonna take your water, put a little water on there. That way you're not trying to manipulate product with a dry brush. If you dribble, that's okay. That's what your drape is for. And then you're gonna do gentle circular motions all over the face. Don't let them see it getting dry. Don't do this. Make it look relaxing, but cover the entire face. Get the crevices, get the nose. Above the lip, I like to turn it on its side. I always prefer, working my way in a set pattern, but they're not really looking for anything other than circular motions all over the face, and then you're gonna finish at a stopping point. This can be disinfected, so we're gonna go ahead and put that in our to be disinfected box. Sanitize just in case. Now this is where you're gonna do your hot towel. You should have it in a separate bag. It does not actually have to be hot. It just needs to be wet. You're gonna wring it in the bag. Open it up, test it on your wrist, and then you're gonna drape it on your mannequin. You wanna cover their face without covering both the eyes and the mouth. You could cover one or the other. I prefer to just leave them both open, and then you're gonna let that sit for a second. The only requirement is that you put this on and then you take it off, but I like to use this as my removal as well. So I'm gonna put my hands in there. If you do this the right way, you've got your little mitts. Remove the product. You can even use it as your mitt if you want. This is how I've been teaching it for 11 years. Works really great, just don't have any flopping noodles on their face. And then this is gonna go in your soiled linens bag. This is gonna go in your trash. You never wanna leave things on your table that are used or trash. It is considered unsanitary and you will get marked off, so clean as you go. I always get asked, what happens if you drop something on the floor? Pick it up immediately and then sanitize your hands. And I definitely should have sanitized my hands before I touched those bottles. Me and my neurotic cleaning. So then, we've exfoliated. You can tone again if you choose to tone again, right? You are required to tone one time during this whole entire facial, and I touched it, which is so not how you should do it, so don't do that. You are only required to tone once during this entire thing, but like I said, I'm used to toning multiple times, so I just do it because it comes natural to me. So we'll throw that out, sanitize our hands, and then we're gonna go into our massage. So, with massage, they are looking for 4 things, 4 massage movements. You choose which ones they are, but they do have to be different ones. You can't do 4 different kinds of petrissage. You have to do petrissage, effleurage, tapotement, friction, one of each of the 4. So what I like to do is get my product on the skin, cover the whole face first, and then I work in a pattern. I want to make sure the examiners are seeing all 4 things. If you're going too fast, if you're going erratically, it's more chance that they're going to miss something. So I do all 4 in steps 3 times. So I'm going to start, we'll say, with our petrissage. So we're going to go ahead. We're doing a little bit of, petrissage on the chin. Okay. Then we can do some effleurage on the cheeks. It's really weird on a mannequin head. Do some tapotement on the cheeks. Bring it up onto the forehead. Do a little friction. And this is the way I've done it forever. It just works well. Pick what you like, but just make sure you're consistent. Once you've done all of them, go back down. Do them again. I do them 3 times, like I said. I want to make sure that they're going to see them, and they're walking around the room checking different people out. Chances are they're not going to just stand there and stare at you while you're doing this whole entire step. They're just going to glance back and forth. So you want to make sure that each time they glance, that they're able to, see something different, and that you're fulfilling the requirement of the step. Okay? Down, petrissage again, effleurage again, open again, and friction. And you'll get stop. Now at this point, you have this massage cream that you probably want to remove. You can either use a cotton round or you can use your sponges. It's really up to you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use sponges. I'm going to put those into my trash, dry my hands. Then we're going to put our mask on. Here's the deal with the mask. You have to have a separate container to put the mask product in, because if you are thinking in sanitary terms, this is the original packaging. You're never going to dip your brush into this. So you're going to want to have a stick, a separate container. It can even be a portion cup. You're going to go ahead, mask product into your other cup, throw away your stick, close your lid. I like to wet my brush, that way it's not soaking up all of my mask product. When you're applying this, don't try and be a perfectionist. They're not looking for the most beautiful application. As long as it covers the face and is not in the mouth or the nose or the eyes, then you're good. You've fulfilled the requirements. So go ahead. If it gets on the headband, that's okay. That's what the headband is for. You want to get it under the jawline. If you get it on the drape, that's okay. That's what the drape is for. There you go. That's all that's required. You're going to go ahead and take this, put it in your trash. Go ahead and take this, put it in your disinfectant. You're going to go ahead and remove your mask at this point. And then I just realized I don't have enough sponges. I forgot to pack an extra set in there. So this is where I highly recommend always having an extras bag in your sanitary box of anything you might need. Extra sponges, extra cotton rounds, disposable supplies, gloves, anything that you might drop or that you might need an extra thing of. So that's where you can go in there. So what you're going to do is just sanitize your hands, go in your box. Then I'm going to get my sponges, and then you're going to remove. This is where it gets really fun. This is where some people like to have 2 sets of sponges in their thing, because sometimes these masks like to be a pain in the butt. If you use all of the parts of your sponge, you should be fine. Check underneath. You want to make sure you get all that mask off of the chin. Voila. Okay, sanitize my hands. Now I'm going to moisturize my client. You can tone after this section as well. I'm going to opt not to. Make sure you're using a minimal amount of moisturizer because you're going to be applying makeup directly after this, and because it's not a real person, things don't absorb, so it could cause problems. You can wipe your hands, sanitize your hands. Check your area. I noticed I have a bag here. I want to get rid of that before I step back. So I'm going to put that in the trash. Fix my bottles. Sanitize my hands. And I'm going to step back, indicating that I have finished the facial portion.
You will break down your work area and dispose of supplies used in the previous sections of this examination. You will prepare your work area for a new client. You will set up the universal supplies you will use for the remainder of the examination. You will also set up for the following sections of the examination: hair removal of the eyebrow using simulated soft wax and tweezing, and facial makeup. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. You will have 10 minutes to complete this section. You will be informed when you have 5 minutes remaining. Do not demonstrate any procedures until the verbal instructions are given and you're instructed to begin. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin.
First things first, you're going to step up and sanitize your hands. You're going to go ahead and start breaking down all of the implements and supplies you used for your client previously. You're going to put your Sanex strip in the trash, and then all of your draping supplies are going to go into the coiled linens. You're going to take all your bottles except for the toner and the water. They're going to go in the to be disinfected. They are original packaging, so you wouldn't throw them out. Sanitize your hands. You're going to go into your box. Get your gloves. You do need to make sure that you are wearing gloves when you use your Cavicide or Barbicide wipes. I should have mentioned this previously. Go ahead and grab your wipes. Go ahead and wipe down your whole station. Put that in the trash. Take off your gloves. Sanitize your hands, and then you're going to go in your box and get your next 2 bags. You're not actually going to drape your client yet. That will come on the next step. But I would recommend taking everything out, getting those bags. Sanitize. Sanitize your hands again and step back to indicate you were finished.
You have 5 minutes to prepare your client for the following sections of the examination: hair removal of the eyebrow using simulated soft wax and tweezing, and facial makeup. Please do not begin any procedures until the verbal instructions are given and you're instructed to begin. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin.
We're going to step up and sanitize, and then we're going to go ahead and get our client ready for services. Draping is exactly the same as before. You still have your Sanex. You can still use your towel if you want. You don't really need a towel for this step, but just in case you want it there. It's never going to hurt anything. Sanitize your hands and step back.
You will perform hair removal of the eyebrow using simulated soft wax and tweezing. You will select one eyebrow to demonstrate a simulated soft wax and tweezing procedure. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. You will be instructed individually by the examiner to demonstrate the soft wax and tweezing procedures. This is an untimed section. Do not begin to demonstrate the soft wax and teasing procedures. You will be instructed individually by the examiner to do so. The instructions will be repeated.
So this section, you are not going to just perform on your own with everyone else. You're going to wait till the examiner walks up to you and lets you know exactly which one they want you to perform first or second. They might have you do both while they're standing there. They might do one and walk away, and another instructor will come and ask you to do the other one. You're going to do tweezing on one side and waxing on one side. So you just have to wait until they instruct you. We'll just assume for the purpose of this video that they've asked me to demonstrate tweezing on this eyebrow and waxing on this eyebrow. First things first, I'm going to step up and sanitize my hands. Put my gloves on. My fingers aren't working. There we go. You're going to go ahead and take a cotton round. We're going to tweeze on this side, so you're going to take your antiseptic. Woo, excuse me. You're going to put your antiseptic on there. Clean the eyebrow. Put that in the trash. You can sanitize again if you want. Now what I would recommend doing is having your tweezers in a little container. You can even use like one of these if your tweezers are small enough. Of course with no liquid, and putting your tweezers in them. For the purpose of the video, I just have them in a new container. But it's much easier and faster to have them in an actual container. You're going to go ahead and you want to make it look like you are really bracing the skin. So I recommend putting a finger here and a finger here. Take your tweezers and you're just gonna pull out the direction of hair growth, which means out to the side. If you're on this side, it's over here. So you're here, you're bracing, just give a couple tweezes. That's all they're looking for. Take your tweezers and put them back into your container, and then you're gonna put them in the to be disinfected. You can sanitize if you want. Take another cotton round. You're gonna take some more antiseptic, and you're gonna clean that eyebrow again. Now, if that's all they asked you to do, you'll sanitize, and you'll step back and wait for them to tell you to do the other eyebrow. Let's assume they asked me to do the waxing. I'm gonna step up, sanitize my hands, take a cotton round, antiseptic, clean that eyebrow, throw that in the trash. I can sanitize again. I'm gonna take another cotton round, and I'm gonna dry that eyebrow. Put that in the trash, sanitize again. Now I'm gonna take my wax. You should have 2 sticks and 2 strips. So you take one of your sticks and make sure that you're closing your container after you're done in it. Take a strip. You're gonna apply the wax on the inside of your arm. And remove the wax with a strip. You're just testing the temperature. Throw that away. You can sanitize again if you like. Now you're going to take your wax. You're going to brace, apply from the inner to the outer. Now something else you need to remember for State Board, most mannequins don't come with eyebrows. You do need to draw them on. I recommend using nail polish. It's gonna be your best option. It's not gonna come off when you're trying to wipe things. I've seen people use Sharpies and it's a hot disaster. So then you're gonna go ahead and take your strip, smooth it down, make sure it looks like you're really bracing. You're gonna pull from the outside coming in. Then if you need to, fold that over and take that, throw it away, sanitize your hands. Take another cotton round, use your post wax. There is no set rule for which one has to go first, post wax or antiseptic, but the way I think about it is post wax is oil, antiseptic is a cleansing agent. So I want to remove any excess wax I have on the skin, so I'm going to use my post wax to do so. That just helps clean up any remaining wax. Throw that out, sanitize, and then you're going to go ahead and use your antiseptic to make sure the area is totally clean. Get rid of any extra oil that might be left because you don't want them to break out. Sanitize your hands. I like to clean as I go, so I'm going to go ahead and put my wax into my to be disinfected. Take my antiseptic and my post wax, get rid of those. Sanitize my hands, take off my gloves, and step back. Now, if you stepped back and you forgot to take your gloves off, stay where you're at. Wait until they read the next steps to you, and then once you step up, immediately remove your gloves and then go into the next section.
You will perform facial makeup. You will be expected to apply facial makeup in the following order: foundation, powder, blush, eyeshadow, eyeliner, mascara, and lip color. You are expected to brace when working around the eye and mouth areas. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. You have 20 minutes to complete this section. You will be informed when you have 10 minutes remaining. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin.
You're going to step up and sanitize. You need a makeup palette. You could use a piece of foil, but I just prefer a makeup palette. You're going to dispense everything into your palette. So for your foundation and your lip color, you're going to want a stick to be able to get it out. Put the lids back on as soon as you're done. The cool thing is, they've actually adjusted this section a little bit. You don't need to groom the eyebrows anymore. You don't need to use a lip liner anymore. So it makes it a little bit easier. There's not as many things as you have to remember to do. I just put things in order so that I don't forget. And that's why I pack the kits the way that I do. They are exactly what you need to perform the services. The right amount of cotton rounds, the right amount of each thing. Obviously, I didn't pack mine correctly today because I ran out of items. So if you pack it perfectly, then you know if anything is left on your table that you forgot a step. So it just makes your life a little easier. So I'm going to sanitize anyway. Take my sponge. I do like to wet my sponge. It just makes the foundation go on. Don't touch it to the thing. I'm telling you not to do it, and here I am doing it. It does make it a little bit easier for the foundation to spread. A lot of times with these mannequin heads, they have such an odd coloring to them that it's almost impossible to match a foundation. I really like to use a really sheer CC cream, but you still want to make it look like you're actually putting makeup on a mannequin. So you're going to dot 4 quadrants and then get in there and start blending. And don't do this. I've seen some people go a little wild on the mannequin heads. Just, blend it nicely. Make sure you cover all the areas of the face. You want to get under that jawline. They will be checking to see if you've left a line of demarcation. That's why I say it's a really good idea to try and, put water on your sponge first to help your foundation blend better, because if they can see the line of where the makeup stops, they are going to mark you off. So go ahead and blend your foundation, and then just pull back your headband and just make sure you don't see a definite line right there. Throw that away. You can sanitize. Take your powder. Dot the 4 quadrants. And again, blend. I do recommend making sure you have a little extra of the powder on the cheeks, just because when you go to try to do the blush, if you haven't put enough and there's still a little moistness to the mannequin face, it's going to make it really difficult to blend that blush. They have also done away with double bracing. It used to be the standard, and if you didn't double brace, you would be failed. It's not a thing anymore. It's just bracing. It's just having a solid point where you are able to do things around the eye and the mouth without the potential of harming the client. So you would never be free floating. You always want to have, some kind of brace to your work. We're going to go ahead and take our other sponge, do our blush. You want to make sure they can actually see that you've put makeup on the mannequin. It's a really fine line between drag queen and not being able to see anything. So, just take your time. You've got 20 minutes to put this makeup on, and it's not anything glamorous. You should have plenty of time. Isn't she pretty? Throw that away, sanitize our hands, go ahead and do our eyeshadow. You want a color that they can see. It doesn't have to be anything too wild, but make sure it's not like a nude color. And then I like to brace like this. Really, it's completely up to you. As long as you've got a good brace, you could do it this way. You're always going to go from inner to outer corner. Then I like to use the other side just to make sure I haven't left a mess. Throw that out, sanitize our hands. Take your eyeliner. If it doesn't look brand new, or even if it does, go ahead and sharpen it. Just make sure you don't leave any mess. I actually recommend using a sharpener that has a case so that the shards go right into the case and you don't have a mess. Okay. Then you're gonna, again, make sure you're bracing. You're gonna start from the inner corner, going to the outer corner. Doesn't need to be anything too wild as long as they can see what you're doing. Just make sure when you're doing it, you're not doing this. You want to work from the inner to the outer corner. Then for our mascara, you're gonna make sure, I recommend taking your actual mascara tube and breaking off the wand that's already in there. That way you won't be tempted to accidentally use that mascara wand because you definitely wanna use a disposable wand. So we'll go ahead, and also I have a little bit of fuzzies on here. We're gonna make sure we get those off of there. So again, you want to make sure that you have a disposable mascara wand. You're not using the one that comes in the mascara. Like I said, it's a good idea just to cut off the end of this. You're going to go ahead and dip your mascara in there. Go ahead and close your mascara. Double brace, and of course you're not actually applying any mascara because they don't have any eyelashes. So you're just pretending that you're applying. Double bracing. Throw that away. Go ahead and get your lip brush. And you're gonna brace and apply your lip color. I actually prefer the little spongy lip brushes to the ones with the bristles, but you can use whichever one you want. This will probably be the ugliest makeup application you do in your entire life, and that's okay. As long as you're being safe and sanitary and it doesn't look like you're hurting the client or stabbing them in the eyeball, you'll be fine. Everyone stresses out about making it look like the prettiest thing, and honestly, State Board does not care. As long as it's not completely hideous, you will be perfectly fine. Okay, whoops, that did not go in there. If you put something in the wrong container, get it out and put it in the right container. And then sanitize your hands. Then you're gonna go ahead and take this. This is all gonna go into your trash, so check your makeup. Looks good, looks good. Go ahead and throw that away. Go ahead and put all of your makeup in the to be disinfected. Sanitize. You won't need these anymore, so you're more than welcome to go ahead and put those in the tube disinfected. Sanitize. Again, do a little double check. Make sure there's no line of demarcation on your mannequin. Sanitize. Step back.
You will demonstrate the blood exposure procedure. You will imagine the following scenario. During a service, your client has sustained a minor cut to the chin. The injury is such that you can continue with the service. You have not come in contact with the blood and your work area has not been contaminated. You are expected to demonstrate the proper procedure for a blood exposure. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. You will have 10 minutes to complete this section. You will be informed when you have 5 minutes remaining. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin.
For this section, you're going to go ahead and step up and sanitize. You're going to go into this first aid bag. You're going to get a set of gloves. You're You're gonna take this bag out. Sanitize my hands. Need an extra set of gloves in there. Don't know where those went. Put that back over there. Sanitize our hands again. You're gonna go ahead and take your alcohol wipe. And you're gonna clean their chin where they sustained the cut. Put these into this bag. Take your Band-Aid. I always make this way harder than it needs to be. There we go. You're gonna go ahead and apply the Band-Aid. So pretty. Go ahead and put all this in the bag. Take our gloves off. Put those in the bag. Seal up this bag. Put it in your trash. Sanitize your hands and step back.
You have 2 minutes to set up the supplies for the particle microdermabrasion section of this examination. Please do not begin any procedures until the verbal instructions are given and you are instructed to begin. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin.
Step up and sanitize. You're going to go in your box. Get your microdermabrasion bag. Sanitize your hands again. Take out all your supplies. Like I said, you won't really need this mask. You'll be wearing one anyway. Go ahead and put your glasses on. You got your prep solution, your cotton rounds. Take your string off of your microderm tip. There we go. Put your gloves on. Just remember, you only have 2 minutes. So if you don't want to put your gloves on yet, you can always wait till you step up. Don't rush yourself. Sanitize your hands and step back.
You will perform particle microdermabrasion. You will demonstrate horizontal strokes across the entire forehead. You will then demonstrate vertical strokes across the entire forehead and conclude the service. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. You have 10 minutes to complete this section. You will be informed when you have 5 minutes remaining. Step back to indicate that you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin again, you may begin.
Step up, sanitize. Go ahead and take one cotton round. You're going to take your prep solution. Clean that whole forehead area. Then you're going to go ahead and take another cotton round and you're going to dry the whole forehead area. This is very important. You have to make sure you dry after you do the prep solution. You can sanitize. With your string, you don't want it wrapped around any part of your body or around your arms. You just want it out to the side. It can touch the floor, that's fine. It's not a sanitary cord when you're in an environment anyway. You just want it away from your body. You're gonna make sure it looks like you're bracing. I always start in the middle and then work my way out. So I'm gonna come here and do my strokes this way. And then I'm gonna come this way. Come here this way. And come this way. Come back here. And just remember, you're making hashtags as you work. just like you would do if you were doing a microdermabrasion. If the cord touches the client, that's okay. I mean, it's the cord for the service. Sometimes that happens. Just make sure whichever way you are using the tip is how your hands are going. So you're this way and you're this way. Do it the whole way and make sure you cover that whole forehead. That's why I like to use the eraser. It can seem a little messy, but it helps me to simulate that I'm actually doing something on the forehead. Then you're gonna go ahead and take this. It's gonna go in your to be disinfected. You can sanitize again. And then you're gonna take your last cotton and you're gonna dry, brush off any extra left on the client. Put that in the trash. Take off your gloves. You can take your prep solution. I actually would recommend leaving this on the table. We'll sanitize our hands and we'll step back.
You have 2 minutes to set up the supplies for the eyelash enhancement section of this examination. Please do not begin any procedures until the verbal instructions are given and you are instructed to begin. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin.
So as you can see, I accidentally forgot to take off my glasses. So the first thing I'm going to do now is step up and take them off and put them in the to be disinfected. Then I'm going to sanitize my hands and I'll go in my box and get my kit. For the eyelash enhancements, you're going to need your scissors, a stick, a cotton square, a cotton round, or 4x4, your lashes, the glue, and a spoolie. I'll go ahead and sanitize, step back.
You will apply eyelash enhancement. You will add a complete eyelash band to the full length of the lash line of both eyes. You are expected to brace when working around the eyes. You are expected to perform a patch test. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. You will have 10 minutes to complete this section. You will be informed when you have 5 minutes remaining. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin.
So for this section, you are now doing a patch test, which you didn't previously have to do. So what you're going to do is step up and sanitize. You're going to go ahead and take your stick, take your glue, apply glue to the stick. You're going to apply it behind the client's ear. Throw your stick away. And then typically, of course, for a real patch test, you'd wait, a certain amount of time just to see if they have any kind of reaction. That's why I keep my prep solution. You're going to go ahead and take that. Clean the area. Sanitize your hands. You're going to go ahead and grab your eyelashes. Now, you want to make sure that you have your scissors in a case. They cannot just be out because they are considered sharp. So I have this little manicure set that I just have the scissors in. So we're going to go ahead and take one of our bands. This is another reason why you should not have fingernails at State Board. We're going to go ahead and you're going to put them on the lashes to see if they fit. Even if they actually fit, you're going to still trim a little piece from the edge, or at least make it look like you did. Put that in your trash. Then you're going to go ahead, take your glue. You're going to apply that to the back of your hand, as long as this doesn't touch your hand. Let the glue dry for a moment. You know what? I don't want to do that. Hold on. You can just let it keep going.
Yeah, if you use your thumb and pull down, they come up.
You're going to go ahead and take your lashes. You're going to take your glue. I would recommend using this little palette that the lashes come on And don't let it touch, but you're going to put some glue on your palette. Put the glue onto the lash. Now you have to let it dry for a moment. So while you're doing that, I would take my spoolie. You're going to go ahead and double brace, and you're just going to brush any foreign matter from the lashes. Get rid of that. Throw this in the trash. And then you can take your lash and apply it from the inner to the outer corner. You want to make sure you're bracing. Take your other lash, measure it, trim it, take your glue, take your scissors, put them back into the container, put them in the to be disinfected, put this in the trash. I have one extra cotton round here, and I notice I do have a little smudge with my makeup, so I'm going to go ahead and just take a little of my prep, clean off my mannequin, take my prep and my lash glue, put those in the to be disinfected, sanitize my hands, and step back. This concludes the examination. From this point forward, you're not being graded, but I would recommend just being cautious as to what you're doing. As soon as you finish your last step, they're going to read you a blurb essentially saying this now concludes the examination. Please break down all of your supplies. They will ask you not to dispose of anything in their trash receptacles as they don't have the room to accommodate it. So you're going to go ahead and pack all of your things and take them with you. I recommend just doing this as quickly and quietly as possible so that you are not noticed. Get out. Go ahead and take all of your draping supplies, put them in your bag, grab your bags, take your mannequin, take your clamp, put it inside your box, take your first aid, your hand sanitizer. At this point, you should be able to fit everything into this box. I'm not being very inconspicuous right now. Close that. Get your bags and get out.